All right, going live in three, two, one. Well, it's another episode of Hannah's Hot Seat. This is episode number 2 with Hannah Berg. Hello, Hannah. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Zoom. Thanks. How about you?
I'm doing fine too. You're looking good. The uh, we're tonight we're going to discuss some of our favorite movies.
Yeah, being in quarantine, I definitely got to catch up on a lot of movies. Friends gave me suggestions, family members gave me suggestions, and I broke them all down for you guys. And basically, we're going to fill you in on what you need to watch and maybe what you need to skip.
Okay. So, would you like to start first with some of your favorite movies?
Sure. Okay, so my favorite genre of movies is definitely comedies. Like, I love just sitting there and laughing the whole time. That kind of feel good energy that you get when you watch a comedy is just, you know, indescribable, I guess you can say is probably the best word for it. But yeah, I think that's probably my favorite genre. But my least favorite genre would be horror because why do you want to be scared the whole time? Like, and then you can't sleep. No benefit to that at all. How about you, Zoom? What's your favorite genre and then your least favorite genre?
I have to break it up a little in that. I can take a decent drama if it's done well. Sometimes it can be kind of boring, but if there's an interesting story to it, I like that. Comedy definitely. There's different kinds of comedies though. So there's the slapstick comedy, like the if you're familiar with the airplane movies, or the Naked Gun movies. Those are more into a slapstick kind of thing where the comedy is so bizarre that the people in the movie just accept it like it's normal, but we the audience know it's just not normal. So and then there's the realistic movies where the comedy comes across as just people having fun. So it depends on what the comedy is. The But I do like different kinds of comedy. I agree mostly with the horror movies. I'm not too much of a fan on those, but I can understand someone having an appeal to that if that's just their thing. So I mean, hopefully they're not too deranged. They want to actually do some of those things. Um, but I do have a couple of I do say musicals, kind of. Um, when I say musicals, I would have to say some of the ones that came out in the 70s and 80s, but not going back too far. Going back too far, it's getting like The Sound of Music from 1966, I think it came out. Um, I remember watching that when I was really young. Maybe not so much, but I could maybe take it or leave it, I guess. Let's see other genres. I could say definitely action movies. As and then of course combining science fiction with different kinds of the drama and science fiction work pretty well. Science fiction has to be a certain kind of science fiction, though. I don't want something that looks cheesy, but sometimes something that is kind of cheap looking, or what you would call a B movie, which is obviously a really low budget movie. Sometimes those can be fun to watch, but they're at the same time they get kind of almost to the point where they're laughable in the sense that you're laughing at it, not with it. And but if it's a good science fiction movie that has a good meaning, such as something that draws an analogy to something, that's usually pretty good. So using science fiction to tell a story about modern situations that we have in our culture can usually be done pretty well. Those are usually pretty decent.
That's very, very true. I mean, for me, I feel like comedy is definitely my favorite. Then like you said, like if a good drama happens, that's pretty good as well. Sci-fi is kind of like depends on how it's done, just like what you said. But for all the viewers out there, I want to know what your favorite genre is. So write in the comments because let's see what you guys think as well.
Now let me ask you this: when it comes to science fiction, there are two science fiction movies. They're not. I'm not. They're not my favorites, but they're good movies, and I'll watch them occasionally if they're on. That's called Back to the Future
Okay,
and
heard of that.
Jurassic Park.
Okay, I've seen Jurassic Park, but I haven't seen Back to the Future.
Okay. I've noticed that people who see those two movies when they're kids love those movies. They say those are the best movies they've ever seen. A lot of people say, not everyone, of course, but it seems like that has a major impression on them when they're children. Now, I saw them when I was older. I was already basically either a late teen or an adult, and So I mean, they're like I said, they're fine, but I don't think they're the best ever made. What did you think of Jurassic Park? Were you a child when you saw it?
Let's see, I was probably about like maybe like 10 or 12. So yeah, kind of young.
Okay. Did you
Overall, I thought they were pretty good. I mean, the dinosaur movies are always really good if they're done the right way and it doesn't look cheesy or anything like that. So I thought it was pretty good, but is it one of my favorite movies of all time? Probably not. But will I watch it if it's on? Sure, why not?
Okay. We got a couple of questions. We can answer these real quick. Someone asks if I have a favorite genre of music. I can listen to pretty much anything. I'm not a big fan too much of country. Modern day country kind of turns me off. I'm not a big fan of Christmas music. That's not really answering your question. I'm telling the opposite. But basically, I can listen to anything that's with except for those categories. It just depends. I have specific songs I like, but as far as genre of music, not too much. Not I don't have anything specific that I could actually say. It's very widespread across all of them, is what I mean to say. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I definitely feel the same way.
And the second question is, what about Die Hard? Have you seen Die Hard?
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I ever seen it.
Okay, Bruce Willis. He was the main character. Okay,
No, I haven't seen that one.
cool. Give you a description. Uh, the first one is a movie where he's in a building and he has to fight off some, I guess you could call them domestic terrorists. The best way to fight it, they're basically trying to rob the building during Christmas time. And each movie after that has a similar kind of premise. So this the I've seen the first one, and the first I know I've seen the first three. I'm not sure if I saw the fourth, or there's been five. Oh, was that you? It's just like a buzzing in the thing in there. Oh, it's gone. Okay. I can't remember if I saw the fourth or the fifth one, but after the third one, the movies they got kind of generic. So for those who have seen the movies, I'm not a big fan of anything after the third movie. So they're kind of blah. It just seems like random action generic movie with a bunch of explosions, and I didn't really care for those. If I had to pick my favorite though, I'd pick the third movie is my favorite out of them all the Die Hard movies. That was with Bruce Willis and Samuel Jackson. Um, it's them racing across New York City trying to stop explosions from happening, and that would have to be my favorite by far. The first one is also pretty good. I would have to say though the third one is definitely the best out of all the first three that I remember. The second movie it's supposed to take place in DC, but it doesn't actually take place in the filming is actually in Colorado, I think, but that's not a big deal. But the movie itself is kind of boring. It's supposed to be at Dulles International Airport, and it got kind of boring for me. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not something I'd really go out of my way to watch. So
Gotcha. And maybe I'll have to check that series out. Maybe I'll have to watch that.
and before we go too far, I would like to show you something. Normally we have the question of the day kind of a thing on my
Okay.
channel. This one's a little different. I wanted to show you this just so I don't forget. I was going to make some eggs the other day, and this appeared. Several of my viewers have already seen this because I posted it already. I took a little picture of what the egg looked like, and here's what it looked. This was still in the cart. This is the egg itself. So,
Wow. Oh, that's a special looking egg.
so I was kind of surprised to see that. It just stood out. So I just posted a little thing. I said, my egg has a nipple. So, and several people left responses about it, funny responses about it. So, but anyway, I just wanted to show you that before I forgot. I was like really kind of shocked to see that.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. I've never seen like an egg look like that before.
Some of the other eggs had little tiny things sticking out of them, but that was the only one that looked like an actual nipple. So
Yeah, that's pretty weird. I've never come across a weird egg like that before.
so now let's jump into your favorite comedies. Now you said you like comedies. What now? Comedies are as far as like comedies go. I mean, you like the comedies that have a real more realistic quality to them, right? Like it's like it's something that would happen in the real world, not like something that's like slapstick.
Right, like, all my favorite comedies are, like, things that are, like, real world movies, but it's just really funny and either the way that the characters talk or something happened and it's really funny or a joke or things like that. So, yeah, more like real world comedy.
Gotcha. So what do you like?
Okay, so my first one I would say is the movie Mean Girls. So that came out in like 2004 with like Lindsay Lohan, Rachel McAdams, and that movie's just really, really funny. It's about girls in high school and of course Mean Girls. So that one is really good. It's an all-time classic. Like people will say lines from that movie all the time, like quotes like "On Wednesdays we wear pink," or like "You go, Glen Coco." Like random quotes like that. Like people will just say them here and there. So that one's really good. If you guys haven't seen that, I recommend. It's one of those movies where you watch it over and over and over again, and it just doesn't get old. And the same jokes are still funny no matter how many times you've seen it.
Okay. Well, I have something to say about you and I had spoken before we were going to do this about the movies we were going to discuss, and I'd mentioned to you that there's someone that I did not really like. Uh, the person who's the main character of this, Lindsay, I can't pronounce her name, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
I'm not really a big fan of her. I don't say I don't like her. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of her. Um, she has had like too many, I guess, I mean, too many issues in life. All right, here's the movie right here. And I she was in a movie. I'm gonna change the subject slightly. She was in a movie where she traded places. Did you see that? I forget what it was called.
Oh, Freaky Friday, right?
Yes, yes, Freaky
Yeah.
Friday was a remake of another movie that came that was from the 70s, and the original I can't I think Jamie Lee Curtis was in the original. I can't remember.
Yes, I think maybe.
Okay,
Yeah.
and anyway, I actually liked that movie because she was just a kid at that point.
Mhm.
And then later on, she had her problems, and it's like every time I see her, I'm like, I just don't want to see anything with that she's in. So I'm not saying the movie is bad. It's just because she's older and she's had all her problems, it just deters me from wanting to see it. Is that something that I should just ignore if I were to go see it?
I think so because this was like before all that stuff happened. So this was still when she was like very cool and stuff.
Okay, all
Mhm.
right. Now as far as what would your rating give? Because IMDb, which is the screen I have right now, has like a 1 through 10 star rating. What would you give that?
Mm. Man, I kind of want to give it a 10 out of 10 because it's something that like I'll watch it no matter what. You know, when I watch the whole thing. It's so entertaining, it's so funny. I got to go solid 10 out of 10 on that one. And I'm really picky on my ratings too. So, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Okay. Well, that's good. Like I said, I can't rate it because I have not seen it, so I wouldn't be able to give it. Oops, let's close that one out there. All right. So what would you?
That was actually my second choice was Clueless for my
Oh,
second favorite movie.
was
So,
it? Oh, let me bring that back up again. Yeah, I have seen Clueless. Unfortunately, it's been a long time since I've seen Clueless. Let me bring that back. There it is. That's weird. Oh, here it is, right here. Clueless. Should bring it up. There we go. 1995. Clueless.
yep, that was with Alicia Silverstone. And that one's just, it's kind of like the 90s version of Mean Girls. So, if you've seen Mean Girls, then you're like, oh wow, that's kind of like the 2000 version. This like the 90s version.
Really?
But
So,
honestly, in this movie, I just love the fashion in the movie Clueless.
oh, we can bring up some of the pictures here. I don't remember everything about the fashion there. Well, we can see it right there a little bit. Um,
Mm.
let's see if we got any other pictures. It looks like the same picture over and over again here.
Yeah, that's kind of like the classic picture that you'll always see, like, with the movie.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, in that one too, that one's a classic as well. But it's just like it's such a good movie too. It's kind of just, you know, it has the comedy in there, the fashion's amazing. Just like a really easy story to follow along with as well. You know, some movies are kind of complex and you can't really follow what's going on, and that's not the case with this one.
What was the like I said, it's been a while since I've seen it. What was the basic plot of this movie? I forgot.
Um, it basically just followed the life of a teenager who lives in California. Like she's very rich and kind of just follows like her little life like through high school, and it's just, yeah, it's kind of like just following her life a little bit in high school, and like it has like them going to parties, them with their boyfriends, and basically the main character Cher, so the blonde one, she is giving a makeover to one of the friends to try to get her like cool and in the group. So it's kind of going through that story as well. And yeah, it's a really easy thing to watch. I first watched this when I was like at my grandparents' house, probably when I was like, I don't know, 8 or something. And it's been a classic ever since.
Made a big impression on you.
I guess so. I guess it really did.
And as far as the fashion, um, that I don't remember. Is that really? I mean, I don't remember that kind of fashion during the '90s. Maybe I'm just not too much. I'm not much of a fashion oriented person, but is that very typical for the '90s as far as high fashion goes? Because I don't think the average person were wearing clothes like some of them that are seen here.
Right, like all the characters in the movie were like very rich. So I'm guessing that that's probably what the more wealthier people were wearing in California at that time.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, any comments about what they were wearing in particular? Anything that stood out?
Um, I gotta say Cher's fashion is probably the best throughout the movie. If I had to pick like one character with the best fashion sense, it would probably be her.
Okay, okay. So I will go ahead and I will give you one of my favorite comedies. Um,
Go for it.
one of my favorite comedies is the 1933 Marx Brothers movie Duck Soup. I will bring that up here. Let's see if I spelled that correctly. It's 1933. So this movie is for a lot the Marx Brothers. For those who don't know, there were four Marx Brothers that were on camera. There was actually a fifth Marx Brother that never showed on camera though. But the four Marx Brothers. This is the last of the four movies that the four of them did together. They were well known in vaudeville during the 1920s, even earlier than that. And they decided to make movies. And when they started making movies, this at the time was considered to be one of their. Uh, it was almost like considered to be a bad version of their movies by the people who actually like their movies in some way. I mean, meaning that it was so different from all their other movies that people didn't like it as much for some reason. The odd thing about it is it's actually probably their funniest movie ever made. A lot of people like me who like their movies would honestly say that this is probably their best movie. Basically, it's almost a satire of sorts. They they do is they go to the whole movie is about the country of Fredonia. It's a fictional country. It's never specified where the country is located at. The Marx Brothers. There's Groucho. Groucho is the one with the mustache. Then there's Chico to his right, and then Harpo at the bottom. Zeppo is the other Marx brother. The best way to describe them is Groucho is always throwing out the insults. Chico is always with the snappy comebacks, and Harpo never speaks. And Zeppo is the straight man. So if the other three Marx brothers are always doing the jokes and everything, but Zeppo is just sitting there like they're not. He doesn't react, but he in a way that a normal person would react. He just acts. He's just there to help enhance what the others are doing, but he doesn't throw any jokes of his own. So um, the movie itself is it starts off with Groucho becoming the president or ruler of the country. I can't remember what his position title was, and eventually it leads to war, and it's not meant to be taken seriously at all. Eventually the war is over, and that's the end of the movie. It's just for those who have seen it, I would say a lot of people do appreciate this, but what happened was because it wasn't received very well at the time it came out. It was 1933. I think their movies kind of went down a little bit after that, so they weren't allowed to do the kind of comedy that was in this one. This was just constant comedy, nonstop from beginning to end. This would be falling along the lines of slapstick comedy, but also just a lot of witty humor thrown in there as well. One of the things let me see if I can get back out of here. the cast that's in here. The woman that plays Gloria Teasdale, I think that's her. Margaret, is that Demont? Yeah, that's her. She is she doesn't do comedy. One of the things that's really funny about I love about this movie and the fact that she's in it is the fact that she doesn't the actress herself, she did not understand their humor. She never understood their humor at all. And it shows on screen whenever she's next to them, she has these bizarre looks like she has no idea what they're doing. So because that's the actress's real reaction to what they're saying and doing, and it adds to the humor when you realize she doesn't understand their humor, and she's just her bewildered look is just natural for her. So for those who watch their humor and understand their humor, it's like, and she's just sitting there with the bizarre looks on her face. It really adds to the humor. She was in a few of their movies.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So is the whole movie in black and white, or is it in color?
It's black and white. Yeah, 1933. There wasn't very much color at that point. In fact, I think
super cool.
I think the first color movie was one of the first color movies anyway, was probably the Wizard of Oz, which came out 6 years later in 1939. So I'm pretty sure that there weren't too many. If there were, I might be wrong. But I'm pretty sure there were no other color movies at the time. At this point, everything was black and white. So,
gotcha. That's pretty cool.
So, and I'll give you one of my next favorite movies. Hold on a second. What is it? I have to look this up. I can't remember the movie I'm looking up is another Marx Brothers movie, but this is not the actual movie. Give me 1 second here. Let's see. Where is it at? Okay, here we go. This is another movie I like. This one's called Brain Donors. Now this is a movie that pays homage to the Marx Brothers. This was so that's kind of like why I like it. It's a modern day version of a Marx Brothers movie. It came out in 1992. John Tuturo, I'll bring him up right here. John Tuturo is a really good actor. He's in a lot of good movies. So he plays basically the three of them play variations of the Marx Brothers, but they have their own take on it. So it's not like they're trying to emulate them or copy them directly. They're just basically taking the Marx Brothers movies and then putting their own kind of quality to it, or their own kind of personality to it. John Turturro plays the Groucho character, the one I was talking about in the other movie. And for those who are diehard Marx Brothers fans, this is a definite movie to see. It's funny to see a Marx Brothers movie, a Marx Brothers style movie done in a modern setting, and they pulled off really well. It's actually a remake of one of the older Marx Brothers movies, but like I said, they do it with their own style. So it's not they're definitely not ripping them off or trying to copy them. It's just a homage to that style. So it's kind of hard to explain because it's basically it has to deal with a ballet, a group of ballet dancers, and the story itself is not really relevant. It's more or less the comedy that is more important. The story is basically them trying to help a couple fall in love and basically become the best ballet dancers in whatever city or they're located in. So it's almost like a MacGuffin of sorts. The story itself, the plot is like a MacGuffin. If you're familiar with a MacGuffin, are you familiar with what MacGuffins are?
No.
A MacGuffin is an item in a movie that's relevant. It's really important to the cast, but as far as the people watching the movie, they don't really care. It's like, and MacGuffin will help move the plot forward. So it's people watching the movie usually don't care about it, but the characters in the movie are really fascinated by it. So the plot of the movie becomes the MacGuffin. It's not essential because the people watching the movie don't really care about the plot. They just care about seeing the funny humor that's going on around it, that's leading up to it.
Oh, gotcha. That sounds really interesting.
So, all right. So did you have any other comedies that you wanted to talk about?
Sure, I'll kind of just like spin them off pretty quickly.
Okay.
A must see is like 21 and 22 Jump Street. So not the original, but the remake with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill. That has been like me and my sisters, one of our favorite movies since we watched it when we were probably like 14 or 15. But That's just a really good movie. It has some dirty humor in it. So if you kind of like that stuff, you'll be set. So, and it's a cop movie. So they'll be, doing some action in there as well. But that one's just really, really funny. Another one that's really funny as well is Neighbors. So that kind of series with that has Zac Efron, Seth Rogen, and even Dave Franco in that. So that series is really good as well. Kind of just like it's about these kids in college. They end up moving a frat house next to, the house with Seth Rogen in that, which is his wife and their daughter. And basically, it's like they're trying to get the frat house out. The frat house is trying to stay. It's kind of like a little war going back and forth. It's really, really funny. And the last one is Step Brothers. A lot of people have seen this one. It came out in like 2008. That has Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly in it. And that is so, so funny. I don't want to spoil too much on that one for you,
Okay.
but it's basically, these two families, they're combining the two sons together, and, they're both like 40 years old, but they act like they're probably 8. So it's so, so funny. People will like say quotes about this one as well a lot. But for comedies, I think that kind of wraps it up for me. Those are probably my top 5 that I think are must-sees.
Okay. All right. So what's the next category you want to talk about?
Um, how about like music and musicals? How about that one? Because you kind of touched on that for a little bit.
Okay. When you say music and musicals, what do you mean? Like, I know what a musical is, but what do you mean by music by itself? What do you mean by that?
Like if a movie is kind of based on a band or like based on a singer or something like that. Like for instance, like the movie Bohemian Rhapsody that came out in 2018.
Okay.
That's like, yes, it's a musical, but it's also about music as well because it's all about the band Queen. So thought that one was really, really good. I watched it like in the movie theater, and like the surround sound with the Queen music was just like everything. Can't even describe it. It was so good.
I have not seen the movie, but I have seen there's a YouTube channel called History Buffs, and they did a breakdown of the movie and to see how accurate it was. And they said it wasn't really accurate, but it was still a really good movie. They weren't trying to criticize it at all. The History Buffs is basically a channel that they respect movies. They just break them down to see how accurate they are to the real life events. And based on what I saw, it looked like a pretty decent movie because their analysis went on for like an hour. So the and they said like the whole there were several incidents that were taken out of order. So some of them happened, but happened differently. So, but
Gotcha.
what I saw though, it looked pretty interesting. Queen was I always liked Queen when I was younger. That's I mean I'm not like it's not like a super I'm not like a big fan, but I've always liked their music. So, who's the lead singer? I'm sorry. It was about I'm sorry.
Freddie Mercury.
Freddie Mercury. That's it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it talks about how in the movie it shows how he died. Is that right?
Um,
Or
I don't think they actually show him dying, but I
I
think they
mean,
kind of like lead up to that point of like, okay.
that's what I meant. I mean, yeah, I mean how he's with this his life story. I guess it was basically about him, right? That's the movie,
Yeah,
right?
pretty much. It was like his whole life story kind of going from a child all the way up until who he was, how we knew him, so.
Gotcha. So, what other musicals are music related movies do you like?
Okay, another one that's, like, definitely classic, but it's very old is Grease with, like, John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John. That came out in 1978,
Hmm.
and that's, like, definitely an old classic that's really, really good.
I think I told you we talked about this earlier too. I told you I like it primarily because when I was a child, Olivia Newton-John I had a crush on her. So
Yeah, that movie's awesome. I do love the fashion in that as well, and just seeing it in that time era, that was just so cool.
the music itself, when I was actually my mother loved that movie so much that she bought the record album, and she would
Oh,
play it.
wow.
My I guess my sister and I would play it over and over a few times. So I know most of the songs in that movie more than know the movie itself. So we played it a lot when I was a kid. Um, Was that, it takes place in the early 60s, I believe, right? Um,
I think so.
the movie, there was a sequel to it. Did you ever see it, called Grease 2?
I did, and personally, I was very let down by it because I think I was really hoping for the original cast, and when it wasn't, it was a whole new cast, a whole new story that kind of followed the same as Grease, but I don't know. It didn't really do much for me, I'd say.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I've seen it. And I barely remember what the plot was. If I remember, the Olivia Newton-John character was replaced by like a cousin of hers or something, and there was a handful of people from the first movie, and it just seemed like they were trying to go for a cash grab at the time, a source. Just trying to make some extra money off of it. Yeah, it didn't do well at all. So, but
Yeah, it was definitely a letdown, I'd say.
any other movies?
Ooh, the last one I'll say for this category is The Dirt, and that just came out in, like, 2019. That has, like, Machine Gun Kelly in it, and oh my gosh, so that movie is about, the band Motley Crue, so they're, like, an '80s rock and roll band, and it was just crazy good, like, it was literally showing you the life of a band, like, it was crazy. Have you seen it?
No, I've not. I've not even, to be honest, I've never really heard of it though. So, I know Motley Crue, of course, but I do not. I didn't know they made a movie. Is it basically a biography of sorts, like Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah, yeah, kind of following, like, Nikki Sixx, like, through his life and stuff, but it's only on Netflix, so it's not, like, on regular TV.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Mhm.
Would you highly recommend it? Obviously you do. I guess it's one of your tops. I mean, what would you give
Oh,
your
yeah.
rating? What would the rating be? I
Oh.
guess out of 1 out of 10.
I gotta say 10 out of 10 on that one as well, like, I don't wanna keep saying, like, "Oh, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10," but, like, it's a movie that you can put on, it's so entertaining, it's funny, it has action, like, all the stuff they do in there, you're like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this was even how they did things back in the day," like, it would be crazy if they did that kinda stuff now.
Hmm. The
Mhm.
So I'll go give you one of my favorite, since the category is music and musicals.
Mhm.
I would have to say that this is not a musical, but it does have music in it. So this is a movie called Baraka. I'm going to bring it
Okay.
up here. I can show you a little sample of it. Oops, 1 second. Okay, this is a movie that came out in 1992, created by John Frick.
Okay.
There's no dialogue in this movie at all,
Oh.
and it's just music put to imagery from around the world. It gave me, after seeing this movie, it gave me a tremendous respect for all cultures all around the world. Um, I was it was you could say it's basically breathtaking. The imagery, it's done very well. I don't want to play too much because I don't want to get a copyright claim on this video for us, but um, you can actually type it in on YouTube right now. For some reason, there's a full copy of the movie that has not been taken down yet, and that's where I got this link from. But you get to see. I'll show it right here. This is a group of men doing what they call the Monkey Chant. There we go. I'll play a little bit of this. Give me a second here. I'm trying to find the play button. There we go. Now, to give you this is, if you was, I said there was no dialogue in this movie. If this is the closest you're going to get to any dialogue in this movie at all. The basically to do it, this is a ritual. I don't know the exact background of this ritual, but it's very it just, even though I have no idea what it is, and the way he mixes the imagery and the music in the background, because he has music playing and a drum beat playing in the background while he does this. The producer of the movie, it just entices me to watch this whole thing. And I like I said, I have no idea what they're really doing, but I just feel compelled to watch it all the way through. Let me jump ahead. See some of the other scenes here.
Yeah, I mean, that's super interesting, like, being, like, able to travel and go to different countries, I love learning about, like, their culture and what they do, so this is definitely on my alley to be seeing something like this.
Yeah, I would think you'd probably enjoy that. There's a sequel to this that came out about 8 years ago, I think. So I can't remember
Oh,
the name.
neat.
So it follows the same kind of style. The the music itself is just also. it changes as the each area comes in. It's just very, very awe-inspiring is probably the best word to say. It matches the scenery very well. So
Yeah, the scenery is beautiful. Oh my gosh.
when I first saw this, I'm stopping and said we don't get a copyright. I don't think we will, but just to be safe, I'm going to only play little segments and stop. The very first time I saw this, I was at a friend's place. He had it on a big projection screen, and I was like, so inspired. I had to write down the name of it, remember how it was spelled, so I could look it up, because the internet was not really that big of a thing at the time. It was still in its infancy, and I was able to look it up. And I found the movie. I bought the movie, and the best way I could describe it when I first saw it was, do you remember National Geographic, the old magazines?
Oh, yeah.
To me, it was like a National Geographic magazine being presented as a film. That's the best way to describe it. So
Gotcha. Yeah, they used to sell those like at the bookstore, like in the library when they would like come and set up that little bookstore thing, and then you get to like buy those like pencils that smelled really good and all that. I remember seeing those there.
I got to be careful. This scene, these young girls are actually naked right here, so I have to be very careful about showing this as well. But it's a ritual, and he shows the people doing their ritual. And I think this is South America. I'm pretty sure this is South America. Then we jump over to Japan. Here's Japan. I don't want to do too much, but that's basically it's a nonstop ride, but the pace picks up. Sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's faster, and it just shows the whole world. And at the very end, it wraps up, and you just feel really good at the very end. At least I did. So
Yeah, that's really cool. I like seeing like different parts of the world because you just don't get to see that, you know? If you've never been there, you won't be able to see it. So that's a cool way to show it.
yeah. Anyway, that would be one of my favorite musicals. Another favorite musical of mine is the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes, I've heard of that one, but I've never actually seen it.
Okay, the Rocky Horror Picture Show came out in 1975. It's an audience participation movie, and when it first came out, it was not meant to be an audience participation movie. But it's basically it's a musical where let me bring it up here so we can see it. Two characters named Brad Majors and Janet Weiss go to a haunted house, and it's not meant to be taken seriously. There we go. And Frankenfurter is the sweet transvestite. So if you're wondering why he's dressed up in women's apparel there, that's what it's about. The audience participation aspect is that people, if you go to the movie, people actually dress up like the characters in the movie. Let's see if we can get some more pictures.
Oh, that's cool.
And actually take part and actually play the roles of the movie while the movie is going on in the theater. So and
That's awesome.
it is. It's pretty funny. And this is Rocky, the title character. He's actually a creation that's created by a Dr. Frankenfurter.
Okay.
That's Dr. Frankenfurter himself.
Gotcha.
Okay, this is that's Richard O'Brien. He's the guy that created this movie, and the picture that they're showing there is actually from the sequel to the movie, which was called Shock Treatment, which didn't do very well. But he plays a supporting I guess you could call him a main character. He's more of a supporting character though through most of the movie. But he's the writer of the movie. Oh, there you go. You can see the box set, Shock Treatment and Rocky Horror Picture Show put together.
That's cool.
I don't see very many pictures here. A lot of pictures of that's. By the way, that's Tim Curry. Do you know who Tim Curry is?
Yeah, that sounds really familiar as well.
He's a famous actor. I think this was what made him famous was this movie. So, playing it.
I definitely know him. That sounds really familiar.
This is Meatloaf, the singer. So, he's in the movie. He plays he's only in for like maybe it's like almost like a cameo. He's in there for like 5 minutes and he gets killed off.
Oh, hey, at least we got to say hi.
That's Susan Sarandon. I couldn't remember her name. She's another famous actress. So she was at the time she was probably just making a name for herself, but I think she was kind of known. But she's a very well known actress. She was in I can't remember all the movies off the top of my head. But she's been in a lot of movies. These other people are kind of minor characters. So, but yeah, Tim Curry, Susan Sarandon, those would be the most well known. Barry Bostwick is the boyfriend. He's kind of known. He's not as known as Susan Sarandon, but he's been in other movies as well. So, but
Oh, gotcha.
it's if you're into something that's really bizarre, or you want to see something that's really bizarre and you want to be part of an audience participated movie, this is definitely the best musical to go see, by far.
Yeah, that does sound pretty cool. Just like get up and just start acting out the scenes like with the characters. That'd be pretty cool. I'd be down for that.
And also in certain theaters, you have to bring something to cover yourself with, because people will actually throw things in the audience, like they'll throw toilet paper, they'll throw playing cards. At certain times in the movie, the lines are thrown out, and they'll say like this. There's a line where one of the characters says "Great Scott," so everybody is supposed to take a roll of toilet paper and just throw it in the air because it's like Scott tissue. So it's just
Oh.
you have to make sure you don't get hit by the toilet paper as it's flying through the theater. So
Yeah, for real. You don't want to get knocked out by toilet paper like flying in the air.
yeah. So those would be two of my favorites. My music or musical related movies.
I like it. I like it. Definitely, there are things I have never seen before, so maybe I gotta go check them out.
So what would be your next genre of movie you'd like to talk about?
How about animation?
Okay.
Like an animated movie of some sort.
Gotcha. Now, when you say animation, I assume that means cartoons as well as computer animated, right?
Right, like it could be, yeah, cartoons, anything. Anything animated, I would say.
Alrighty. What you got?
Okay. First one I would do would be The Incredibles. That one is amazing. That came out in like 2004. Basically it's about superheroes, like a superhero family, and then they ended up making a second one probably like a year or two ago. But that's definitely a classic. Has some comedy in there, action. That's a good one. That's a good one, to watch with the kids or whatever. Second one, I would say Monsters Inc. That's a typical classic as well. I'm giving you all the classics, things that you gotta see.
Can we go back for a second to The Incredibles? Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen The Incredibles. So
What?
yes, I know.
Come on, Zoom. What are you doing?
I was just a little too busy with my career at the time, and so I remember seeing images of it. And I think I have friends that have talked about it, but yeah, I've never seen that one. The I'm just looking at some of the questions we have. We have a comment from William Walter saying Susan Sarandon was also in, was that
Extremities?
Extremities. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with that one. Sorry.
Yeah, me neither.
Anyway, yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, it's obviously something you like. Would you recommend other people like myself to go see it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like almost any age will like this movie. Like, even though it's like kind of a kid movie, if you want to say that's a kid movie, it's like I feel like any age could watch it and then just laugh about it. Like, it's such a good movie. And like definitely everyone can relate to it as well because they are superheroes, but they're trying to like live their lives as normal people. So you kind of see like the best of both worlds with that.
Would you? It looks like from what I've seen, is it like almost like a spoof of the Fantastic Four? Are you familiar with them?
I haven't seen that.
There's Mr. Fantastic was the head of the Fantastic Four, and he could stretch his body, and one of them could turn into a flame. The other was a big rock. He was called the Thing, and he was like a big rock creature. And then the woman that was part of the group, she could turn invisible.
Oh, it's like kind of like that, yeah, because like, so the dad in this, like Mr. Incredible, he has like all the strength, he can lift really heavy stuff. And then the mom is like Elastigirl, so she can stretch her body out in any way, shape, and form. And then the daughter is Violet, and she can go invisible or like make a force field or something like that. And then Dash is like the youngest boy, and then he can like have super speed and like run really fast.
Okay, so it has some similarities at least. So
Definitely.
So let's go. You said Monsters Inc.
Yeah, Monsters Inc. That's a good one. Have you seen that?
No, I have not seen that one. I was actually one time
What?
I was in
Oh
the
my
theater one
god.
time. I was watching a movie, and I was with a friend or something. We walked over to the other theater when the movie was brand new. We watched like maybe the first 5 minutes and we walked out. Not because we didn't like the movie, it's because we didn't pay to see the movie. We're actually there to see another movie. We just walked into the other theater to see what the movie was like. So we went back to see our movie after that. So what I saw
Gotcha.
was pretty good, but I don't, since I only saw like the first few minutes, I can't really say.
Yeah, I think it's super good. Like, it's about a bunch of monsters. They all work at this one factory, and their job is to like go into kids' rooms and scare them. And then it fills up this tank of like gas, and it's like the scream gas or something like that. But I just think it's super funny. The characters are great in there. Um, and I don't wanna spoil that one. I don't wanna give too much away because it's so good, you gotta go see it yourself. And they made a spinoff called, like, Monsters University or something, and it was
That's
basically about their life before they got to the main movie.
gotcha. I was going to ask you, I thought there was a sequel. I couldn't remember what it was called though. So did you like the sequel?
Yeah, the sequel was actually pretty good. Sometimes with sequels, they can come off like really bad or cheesy, or they don't follow the plot, or sometimes it's a letdown. And you're like, oh, come on. But no, I think the sequel was definitely good. Not as good as the first because, the OG is always the best. But, it was up there.
Hmm. Okay. Now I would like to. Do you have any others? Because I'll go ahead and give mine if you don't have any others.
Go for it.
Okay. I can't remember the name of the movie. Is it the one with the minions? Um,
Oh, Despicable Me.
Despicable Me. That's what it was. Yes, I couldn't remember it. Yes, this. I know there's been a few of them. The first one was really funny. I
Mhm.
saw that. There was a second one that I thought was also funny. The third one, I don't remember if that was that. There was a third one. I think that was it. And then there was one called Minions by themselves. Right? I think there were like
I think
four
so.
altogether.
Yeah. I only seen the first one, so I haven't seen all the rest of them or any of the spin-offs.
Okay, I saw that. I saw the first two, and I think I saw parts of the third one. The third one didn't seem that interesting to me. I'm not saying it was bad or good, but the first two were definitely really good. Then you have Phil. Was it Phil Ferrand? Is that the guy that does the music or some of the songs that were in it? They were really catchy. Like "Happy," I think was in one of them.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I think that was in one of them.
Yeah. So and that song always there was a music video that he made called 24 Hours of Happy. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No,
Um,
I haven't.
he had the song Happy, which was like about 4 minutes long. He actually took that song and made it into a 24-hour long video. It's called 24 Hours of Happy. And they actually filmed people throughout different parts of, I think it was in Los Angeles, just dancing to his song. So
Oh, that's so cute.
you can actually still see it on YouTube. The whole video is on YouTube. So um, the it's broken up into like 1 hour segments, but you can still see it. But it's pretty funny. I would recommend that. But yeah, as far as Despicable Me goes, I like that one, and the sequel. I would definitely recommend that. Another animated movie off the top of my head, I can't think of anything that would be. There's probably something I know, and I just can't think of it right now. There are some movies when I was a kid I liked, um, but as an adult, I don't think I would like them that much anymore. So I'm not going to really bring anything up on those. Um, but yeah, that would probably have to be the best one I've seen recently, as our more modern movie, I should say.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I've only seen the first one, so maybe I have to go back and watch the other ones.
Yeah. I like I said, I never saw the one that was about the minions only, so I wouldn't even know what to say about that one. So, but the sequel is definitely worth a watch if you're interested in watching that.
I think I'll check it out. That seems pretty good.
Cool. All right. So what's the next category you want to talk about?
How about action?
Action. Cool.
Okay. Action, I would say this might be cliche, but I'll say the Hunger Games series.
Okay.
I think that one's really, really good. Like Jennifer Lawrence, like her acting in that is superb. Like it's almost to the point where you don't even think she's acting. Like that's really her.
I see. The Yeah, I've seen the I saw those very recently, and I agree those are very good. The movie they were like that was about they call those young adult dystopian movies. Um and they're all based on novel. You didn't read the books that were based on, did you?
No.
I didn't either, but I did enjoy the movies. From what I understand, they were pretty close to what the books were. So, but I agree, Jennifer Lawrence's acting was pretty good. Is she one of those actors that are actresses that had issues in her life, what, the other woman we were talking about, Lindsay Lohan, or is she pretty normal?
No, no, I think she's pretty normal. Like she's super cool. Like if you see any videos of her like on the red carpet or anything like that, like she's like the clumsy one who's like falling and laughing at herself and cracking jokes. Like she's super, super cool in real life.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Now the other ones, there were actually a couple of other dystopian movies that came out at the same time. There's the Hunger Games, and then there was another one I think you wanted to talk about, which was Divergent too, right?
Yeah, the Divergent series, that one's really, really good as well. That was with like Shailene Woodley.
Yeah. Now that one, I like those. As the movies progressed, they got the science fiction. The first one is really good. I agree with you on that. Why don't you talk about your opinion, and I can tell you how I feel.
You know, I thought the movie was really cool. It was almost like one of those futuristic movies, like this could happen in the future. Like it almost felt like that this wasn't too far off of where we're at right now. So I think it definitely makes you think in some way of like, wow, could this really happen someday? You know, I think it was pretty cool. I had a lot of twists and turns in there, a lot of action, a good plot. I mean, I thought it was really good.
And how did you feel about the fact that it was taking place in Chicago?
You know, yeah, my hometown, that was, that's I think that's what also made it, like, hit home for me a little bit harder was like, "Oh my god, this is actually, like, here." Like, it actually seems so real.
Uh-huh. So the no, to give you my opinion, the Divergent movie, the first one was really good. The second one, though, seemed to be lacking. And when I watched it, I felt like I didn't really remember anything about the plot. And it was kind of funny because I went online and to watch other people review it, and they said the same thing. It's like there wasn't really much of a plot for the second movie. It just seemed like a bunch of random things that happened, and it's like a kind of which made the story made it kind of fall apart a little bit they went along. So the first movie is good. Second movie gets a little bit weaker, and the third movie, um, what happens there is they introduce a lot more science fiction to it, a lot more, to where it's like we're getting before it seemed more believable, but then all of a sudden there was like the people with these really far out like super science fiction elements that were added to it that had technology that was beyond anything we've ever seen, and it just that for me kind of took it away a little bit. I like the basic feel of the first one where it seemed like these people were surviving, and it came across as very realistic, and it just got to the science fiction part just got to be a little too far fetched for me. How do you feel about that?
You know, I actually do agree with you because when I'm thinking about the second movie, it's weird, like, I can't even actually tell you what it's about,
Right.
which is funny. Like, I could totally tell you what the first one's about, but when it comes to the second one, I'm like, "Uh, what was it about again?"
Yeah.
It's funny, it's weird that, like, that's really, really true about that one.
And how do you feel about the third one?
The third one was good. Like, that was really, like you said, really futuristic, very, a lot of sci-fi in that for sure, but they did it in the right way, like, where it was engaging, it was cool, like, it made sense. So, yeah, I think it was, like, great for the first one, kinda dropped for a second one, but then you kinda ended on a high note.
There was supposed to be a fourth movie that was never made. So, trying to
Really?
yeah, I'm trying to figure out, see, Divergent. Okay, it was Insurgent, Allegiant was the third one, and I do not remember what the fourth movie was going to be called. But because from what I understand, I don't, I might be wrong on this. By the time the third movie came out, the popularity was fading out, and people didn't really like it as much as the first one. So they decided to cancel and not make the fourth movie. So that's at the very
Gotcha.
end at the very end of the third movie, it ends on a kind of like a cliffhanger because they're going to go back. If I remember correctly, I don't remember, they were going to head back to where the people had the higher technology. I think they were going to go back to that, and they just never made it. So
Right. That's such a bummer. Like I wish they would have came out with that fourth one, you know. But
yep.
that's how the series goes. Like if, you know, they do great and it kind of drops off, you'll lose your viewers that way, you know. So that's the risky part if you start making a series. You just got to make sure that each movie gets better and better and better.
Now there were two other movies that followed this kind of a formula. One of the other ones was called The Maze Runners. Did you ever see that?
Yes, I saw that. That was really good. I like that one.
No, the Maze Runners, the original movie, I thought was really cool. The ending was kind of weak a little, but
Yeah.
everything kind of wrapped up too quickly at the very end. But the whole concept of people not knowing where they are in the maze and trying to figure out how to get out was really cool. The second movie, did you see the second and the third movies?
No, I only saw the first.
Okay, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but the second movie changes. It's completely different. I won't say anything, but it's so different. It's like it just doesn't feel the same. The third movie is also different, but it goes back and it gets better again. So I would say, without saying any spoilers, the second movie is not that good, but the third movie comes back closer to what the first movie was like, and it feels pretty good. So it wraps up pretty well.
That's good. At least they ended the series like on a high note.
Yeah, yeah. And then the fourth movie, if you can count this as part of the same kind of genre, was a movie called The Fifth Wave. Did you ever see that one?
I don't think I ever saw it. I think I wanted to see it, but then I never ended up seeing it.
Okay, it's basically another futuristic young adult dystopian movie, but aliens invade the Earth, and the main character, she's I forget her name. She's a famous actress. She has to help her family, and it starts off really good, but the problem is she develops this kind of love triangle kind of thing partway through,
Oh.
and unfortunately it's not handled very well, so it kind of falls apart after a while. So, and
Oh,
I
man.
think if they had done it better, there probably would have been it was definitely supposed to be a sequel, but they just never made another movie after it. So it 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 started off good, but just kind of fell towards the end of the movie. It just wasn't as good. So that's why I would have liked, if they had made a sequel, I would have definitely gone to see it.
Yeah. I should check it out then. It's kind of
Yeah,
bummer that it kind of fizzles out, but
yeah.
if you recommend it, I'll see it.
Yeah, I would recommend it, but just be prepared to be maybe. I mean, if you like romance in a movie, you may like it, you may not, may not. It's just that it's a love triangle thing, and I don't think it worked very well. That's the thing.
Aw, dang.
So did you have any other action movies?
Hmm. I think I think that's it. Well, actually, okay, this might be a whole category in itself, but I think any Marvel movie is probably amazing. Like, I mean, I guess they go under action movies. So, yeah, I'd say any Marvel movie is really, really good. Always done exquisitely. But if I had to pick one, I would actually say the movie Suicide Squad. And that came out in like 2016. That was with like Margot Robbie, Jared Leto, Cara Delevingne, Will Smith. That was like a rock star cast for that one. And I think that's probably my favorite
You're bringing
Marvel
it up right
movie.
now. Yeah, unfortunately, I've never seen that movie. I knew that it was coming out at the time. Um, I thought that who's the woman that was in that again? You said her name, right?
Oh, Margot Robbie?
Yeah, I thought she looked pretty. Her outfit was pretty cute. Actually, that was pretty nice looking.
Mm.
Very different looking from what I was expecting, because I've seen the character in the comics. It looks a lot different. So if you're, I'm not a comic fan. I don't read comic books, but Harley Quinn in the comics looks a lot different than she does in the movie. It's not even really the same. So it was kind of interesting to see her dressed like that.
Yeah, I know. Harley Quinn's probably my favorite character in that for sure.
The How do you feel about the style of that outfit, by the way?
Oh, I thought it was so cute. Like, it has like all the little writing on it. It's very cutesy, but it's very like, you know, bad girl at the same time. So, you know, you
Yeah.
got the attitude in there, you got the cutesy in there. Fits her perfectly.
Now I like I said, I've never seen this. There was supposed to be a sequel. Oh, there was a sequel. That's right. I forgot. Did you see the sequel?
No, I haven't.
What was the sequel called? I'm bringing it up right now. Um, oh, I don't see it here. She was in it as well. Oh, Birds of Prey. That's right. Birds of Prey.
Oh, you know what? I actually did. I watched probably like 10 to 15 minutes of that, and it was really boring. Like, I did not like it at all.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah.
But maybe I didn't give it a long enough chance. So,
A lot of people said it just didn't live up to the original. Like I haven't seen either, so I wouldn't know. But so you're recommending Suicide Squad? Was Batman in that one?
I don't remember.
Okay,
I want to say yes, but I'm not 100% sure.
gotcha. All right. Well, if I already brought up one of my favorite Marvel movies, and I'll bring it back up here again. Let's see. It is Spider-Man from
Oh, yeah.
2000. The first of the Spider-Man movies that were theatrical releases, because I don't think there were any before this. There were some cartoons and TV shows, but this, as far as I know, was the very first one. Tobey Maguire played him, and Sam Raimi. He's one of my favorite directors. He's done a lot of movies I really like. So he did another movie that I'll bring it up real quick. Just to show it to you. It's called Army of Darkness. If I had to pick another movie as far as comedies go, I'd definitely put this near the top as a really funny movie to watch. It's too bizarre to explain, but it's definitely a funny movie to watch. Getting back to Spider-Man though, the story is done really well. The character development with Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst is done very well. It's very believable. Young awkward teenager falling in love with the girl next door, and by the end of the movie she's in love with him, but he can't commit because he doesn't want her to get hurt, and the way he just walks away at the end is like very, very powerful scene. It was like, wow. It's like the way they did that just blew me away. And the sequel comes, and when the sequel came out, that movie was just as good. They had another Spider-Man 2. They Doc Ock, or Dr. Octopus was the villain in that one. It was really cool to see another villain that actually lived up to the quality of the first villain in the first movie, but it was completely different in a different way as well. So that movie, I would say those two, as far as Marvel movies go, two of the best I've ever seen. I'm not saying they're the best ever made, but definitely, in my opinion, the best I've seen. So.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Spider-Man. That's always a classic. But this is like the OG. Like, this is the very first one, right?
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like the OGs are always the best. But I've heard a lot about they just made a Spider-Man, and I think it was like with Zendaya and like Tom Holland or something like that. And everyone was like really raving about that.
Yeah, what happened on that? That was the remake. I think what happened was the first one was okay, but the second movie didn't do very well. And they ended up stopping that and creating a third one. So now there's a new Spider-Man movie that's part of the what they call the Marvel universe, I think. So I'm trying to
Gotcha.
And then getting back to the original Spider-Man, there was actually a third one that came out in 2007. It wasn't done very well. It had the same actors and same director, but it was not done very well, unfortunately. So I would not recommend the third one. I would watch, if you were to watch them, I'd say watch the first one, watch the second one, but just end it right there. Don't worry about watching the third one. So
watch 1 and 2 and then, cut it off before 3.
Yes. Yeah. Don't even pretend like it doesn't even exist. It just kind of ruins the first two. So.
Yep, there's movies out there. You just, got to cut it off before you get to the bad one.
Now, as far as another favorite Marvel movie of mine, this one's even older. I'll bring it up here. Wesley Snipes. It was about 4 years earlier. 1998, Blade. You ever heard of Blade?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Blade. I'm not usually I don't really like vampire movies that much. However, this is a vampire movie that I really, really like. It's a Marvel movie. He's a comic book character, and Blade, played by Wesley Snipes, chases after vampires. So,
Ooh.
and he himself is partially a vampire. they call him the Daywalker. So
Oh.
he has a lot of the strengths that the vampires have, so he can heal really quickly. And they call him a daywalker because the vampires can't go out in the daylight because they die. So he has a lot of their strengths, but not all of their weaknesses. So what he does is he battles the vampires, and the story is pretty good. Unfortunately, the special effects are horrendous. They look really really bad. The CGI is just really atrocious, and it really stands out. But because the story itself is pretty good, it's not too bad. So. Um,
Yeah.
the interesting thing about this is the person who made this movie is obviously a fan of that movie Baraka, the one I just showed you a little while ago, because
Oh,
there's actually a homage to Baraka in this movie.
no way.
It's blatantly obvious that they even use the music that's from the movie, and they show imagery that's similar, not from the movie, but imagery that's very similar to how the movie is laid out. It's very obvious a homage to Baraka, which is pretty cool. So.
Wow, that's super cool. I like when shows do that. Will they'll like put it in like maybe a reference to some other show or to another movie or something like that. Like that's always really cool.
Uh-huh. So, but I would definitely recommend this. I would recommend this. There were two sequels to this. By the time we got to the third one, it was kind of weak. It wasn't that good anymore. So I wouldn't recommend this. At least maybe the second one's okay, but it doesn't. Even that one doesn't live up to the first one in my opinion. But it's not a bad movie. It's a pretty decent movie still. So. Yeah.
So this one I'm getting the vibe of sticking with the OG on this one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Chris, if you like Chris Christopherson, he's an actor who's been around for a while. He's a pretty decent actor. He's in it as well. There's a spoiler in there that's kind of funny. He shouldn't because of what happened in the events of the first movie, he should not have been in the second movie, but they wanted him back so badly that they found a way to bring him back. And you have to excuse the fact that the excuse they give doesn't really match up with what happened in the events of the first movie. So I don't want to give any spoilers away, but he shouldn't have been in the second movie, but since he was liked so much, they brought him back anyway. So it's one of those funny things.
That's neat. That's really neat. That's pretty cool too, as an actor being liked so much that they bring you back in.
Mm-hmm. So which genre would you like to talk about next?
How about drama?
Drama, okay.
Because I know we were kind of touchy with this one. We're like, okay, if it's done right, we like it. If not,
I agree. Yeah, drama has to be done in a certain way. Sometimes it can be boring and just not fun, or if it's all how the story is put together. So
100%. Or if it's overdone, then it's just kind of cheesy. And I really feel on that one.
okay, so what's your favorite drama?
Okay, so this one is kind of like a drama and a comedy at the same time. It's The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have seen that one. I've seen it a couple of times.
Yes, it's so good.
Here we go, bringing it up right now. So when I saw The Breakfast Club, actually, I'll tell you what happened. My dad and my sister saw this movie, and my dad came to me and he said to me, do kids really use that much profane language in high school these days? And I hadn't seen the movie.
What did you say?
What's that?
And what did you say to that?
I had not seen the movie yet, so I couldn't answer him. But when I went to see the movie, I was like, yeah, it's pretty normal. I didn't see it. Didn't seem that out of place.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that out of place. At least I don't think.
The looking at the characters that are in there, I would say if I had to pick which one represented me, I would be a cross between three of them. So, I would say, let me bring it up here. I'd be a cross between with Judd Nelson's character a little bit, kind of. I wasn't a tough guy though by any stretch, but I was kind of an outsider in some ways. Not her. I was a little bit like her, a little bit. Not as far as not the female characteristics, but as far as her personality traits, a little bit. I would say a little bit with her, and a little bit with him, the nerdy guy. So I was a cross between those three characters. To describe me in high school, I'd be a cross between those three. So
Oh my god, that's so funny. I love all the characters in there. They're all so different in their own ways, but then they have so much in common at the same time, and that's kind of what they discover, like, as they're going through their day in detention.
And it's really cool that they have a entire movie that's basically it takes place in a single school, it's a single area. I mean, they hardly go anywhere essentially. I mean, the school is where the whole the story just takes place. They don't go anywhere else.
Right, it's literally all in the library of one school the whole time, and you would think, like, hearing that, that it would be really, really boring, but it's not. It's far from it.
Now, as far as the what would be your favorite part of the movie?
Hmm. Man, I would say probably when they're in the library and it's like the big dancing scene and they're basically just playing music because 'cause they're blasting music out loud and then they're just dancing around and just having a great time. That's probably my favorite part.
Gotcha. Yeah, I would have to say my favorite part is the the end towards the end the idea that they developed a friendship. I thought that was pretty cool. The three of all five of them were basically different. By the end, they realized how friendly, how much they really liked, how much they had in common, and they decided to stay friends at the end. So I mean, it might be a little sappy, but it's still I liked it though. So
Mhm. Definitely like a feel-good movie for sure.
the how do you feel about the school? Does it represent high schools? I mean, physically, does it look like a high school to you?
Yeah, like, as they're going through the movie, it definitely, gives you that vibe of that you're in high school again, and you're with all your friends, and this is detention, and here you go.
Okay. I had spoken to a person within the past few months who had seen this movie more recently, and she told me that it did not look like her high school at all. And I was surprised because I said it looks pretty much like my high school, except it's more low. It's more brighter. My high school was kind of dark, as far as the walls were concerned. But aside from that, it pretty much looked like my high school. And she told me that when she went to school, high school, there were only like maybe 50 students at the most, so she lived in a very rural area. And I told her that when I went to high school, there were probably about 3,700 students in my school. So I would say the size of the school, it looked pretty accurate to me. It looked like an average high school for the era, the time that it came out.
Right, I was just gonna say that, like, it came out in 1985, so, kinda depending on when she went to high school, that's also maybe another reason why it looked different.
Mhm. And but yeah, it was kind of funny how we had such a her and I had such a big different perspective on it. She only had like 50 students. I told her I had 3,700 students. It's like, yeah, that's a major difference there. So I grew up in the DC area where there's a much larger population. So and that's why each school had like a very large population of students.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I really like this movie, I think it's really funny, has a lot of good moments in there, little sappy moments, like, twist moments, like, everything. It has everything in there.
Mhm. So what would be your next favorite drama?
Next drama? Hmm, I gotta say I gotta say the Twilight series. I think that kinda dips into romance too, but I think it's definitely more of a drama.
Gotcha. Yeah, as you and I discussed earlier, I'd never seen the series, so I can't comment on it. But I have seen uh, Kristen Stewart. Is that her name? Kristen
Yeah,
Stewart? Okay.
yeah.
Um there's a movie. I'm kind of getting off topic, but not really. There's a movie called Jumper. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie.
No.
She has like almost like what you would call a cameo at the very end of the movie. And I watched there's a movie, the last part of the movie has been uploaded to YouTube. And in the comment section, they keep on commenting about how she's in the movie and that she's in Twilight. And I didn't know who she was at the time. And there's like lots of comments saying that, oh, so she and Hayden Christensen are related because he's the main character in the movie. They're making jokes, of course. But it was from that movie that I learned who she was, and then from there, I've never had a chance to see the Twilight series, so I can't comment on it. But like I said, it was just interesting to see, someone that was so recognizable, and other people recognized her. And in that movie, she had long dark hair. What did she look like in Twilight?
Same thing, like long brown hair.
Okay, okay, she would look the same then. I gotcha. So, and from what I understand, that's a love triangle as well.
Right. So it definitely has that kind of like fantasy feel too, where it has like make believe items in there as well, like vampires and werewolves and that kind of stuff. So it's basically her and she's in the love triangle with a werewolf and a vampire. And it's kind of, you know, the story of them and how they go through their lives. And each movie gets better and better and better. So that's a really good series because you think the first one can be a little slow. Same with the second one, could be a little slow at some parts, but I feel like all movies are like that where they might have a little dull part in there, but it gets better and better and better as the movies go on.
Gotcha. How many movies are there altogether?
And that one, there's, I believe, 4 or 5 because I think the last one is broken up into 2 parts, so it's like part 1 and part 2.
Okay, okay.
Huh.
I didn't know there was
That's
that
really
many.
a commitment. If you watch that, it's a commitment for sure.
Now, it's a movie series you have to watch from beginning to end.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't recommend, like, jumping around because then you might get really confused on the story.
Gotcha. Is the first movie more of a standalone movie? Was it meant to be a series?
Um, I think it definitely could, like, hold its own. I think,
Hmm,
like, after you watch the first one, you'd probably be pretty satisfied.
okay. Well, based on what you're saying, I definitely would watch it. I've hesitated to watch it in the past only because several people on YouTube have said that they don't like it, and that doesn't mean I would. It just kind of made me feel like, well, maybe I shouldn't watch it if it's not good. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't give it a chance, of course. But when there's, it's I was just curious as to why some of these people would say they don't like it, but then there are a group of people like you that say it's really great. So I'm not sure why there's a. I don't know. Maybe they're just. I don't know. I have to see it to figure out why they didn't like it.
Right, definitely watch it and then let me know because, I mean, some people might not like it because it is kind of like a love triangle thing. It does have like, the fantasy elements of there of like werewolves and vampires and that kind of stuff. So maybe if they're not into that, then maybe that's why they wouldn't like it.
So is it anything like I don't know if it's any similar to like Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Have you seen those
I haven't
movies?
seen that. No.
Okay. Okay. I've only seen bits and pieces of that, so I couldn't comment on that. So just curious. All right. So what would be your do you have another choice for a drama?
Okay, I'd say that my last one for the drama would be Fight Club.
Ah, yes. Good movie. Good movie.
Mhm. That one's really good. Now that one kinda threw me for a loop because the first, like, half of it, I was really confused, and I was like, "What is going on with this? Like, why am I even watching this?" Like, I was so confused. And then something really big happens in the movie, and it's kind of like a 360 flip, and you are just, like, engaged all the way till the end on that point. It's really good the way the movie flips.
And Edward Norton is the main character, and of course, what's his name? Brad Pitt. Couldn't remember his name for a
Yep.
second. Both really good in this movie. And of course, the scene I just brought up here has Meatloaf. Um, we just showed him before in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So, um,
Mhm.
but the whole idea that they're so depressed that they have to go to support groups to find other people who are sad so they can make themselves feel better. So,
Yeah. It's definitely an interesting movie. I've never ever seen a movie like this before.
uh, now, did you catch at the very beginning the little subliminal images that were thrown in at the like every once in a while?
No. Like
Like
what?
when Edward Norton's character is walking around, he'll every once in a while you can see Brad Pitt flash on the screen for a split second before he actually meets him.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I did catch on to that in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, okay. It's pretty fun. These are just there we go. And then the woman he's having that's really funny because he doesn't even know he's having like anything with her, like a relationship or anything. And he thinks that he and Brad Pitt are actually having that relationship, whatever you want to call it. And so every time she wants to leave, or he every time she's at the house, that rundown house that they're in, he just tells her to leave, and she's like, you don't understand. Like you said, you have no idea why she feels she's saying the things that she's saying, and then once you find out what's going on, you realize, oh, okay, now it makes more sense.
Yeah, definitely don't spoil this movie. This one you gotta see it for yourself. It's crazy.
she's the at the time I forget her name. Helen Boehm Carter. Is that Helena? Excuse me, Boehm Carter. She was married to the one of I can't remember the director's name. Kind of an extravagant director. He's made a lot of different. He made Edward Scissorhands, uh, the newer Planet of the Apes movies. One of the Planet of the Apes movies. Um, he made
Hmm,
one of the
clue.
Batman movies. I can't remember his name. I can't. Anyway, it doesn't really. But he's kind of he always stands out. It's almost like her character in this kind of matches the kind of person that he is in real life. So it's almost you understand why the two of them were together at the time. It's kind of funny. So,
Oh, gotcha.
but yeah, I agree. This was really good. I unfortunately when I saw this movie, I had the ending spoiled to me by a friend.
Oh, dang.
So I already knew what was going on beforehand. So
Mhm.
it was we were just the funny part was we were watching the movie. I was over at his place. We had the movie on, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. Neither was he. We were doing some things with he's a computer guy, so he was helping me fix one of my computers. And then at the very end, he says, "Oh, guess what? This is what's going on." And I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay." And so when I went to see it and paid more attention to it, I was like, I wasn't surprised at the end, unfortunately. So
Gotcha. I was, like, in big time shock when I watched this one, and, I did not even see that coming. But I don't wanna spoil it because it's so good that you guys have to go watch it yourselves.
yeah, I agree. And the other thing that deterred me from watching this movie originally was the fact that I thought it was just going to be people fighting, and
Yeah.
there's not there's they are yes there is fighting, but it's not just. I thought it was just going to be some stupid fight movie where people just beating each other up, and it
Right.
deterred me from watching it for like 10 years. I didn't see it till like at least 10 years after it came out, because of that. I was I when my friend showed it to me, and like I said, I hadn't really been watching it when we're at his house, but he recommended it. I said, okay. So I watched it and I was like, at that point, I was like, wow. So I missed this movie for 10 years. I should have watched it. I should have seen it a long time ago. That was like, but I was happy to see it finally though. So I would definitely put this near the top as well.
Yeah, I feel like the title could be a little bit deceiving on this one, for sure. But
Hmm.
when you watch the movie, you're like, "Okay, I see where it kind of fits as well." So kind of
Yeah.
50-50 on that.
Yeah. So any other kind of genres you'd like to talk? As far as my dramas go, let's see. I would definitely say this is near the top for me. So, um, I can't think of any other dramas off the top of my head because Breakfast Club is pretty good. I wouldn't put it near the top, but I would definitely say it's a very good movie to watch. And Fight Club would definitely be near the top if I had to pick a drama. Um, as far as any other dramas, I would have to say we'd have to go into the science fiction realm. If we'd like to, let's go into that category. Science
Go
fiction.
for it.
Okay, so you don't really have any science fiction movies, right?
You know, I maybe this is a science fiction movie, but the movie Avatar? Like, with all the, like, people that are all blue and stuff?
Yes.
Or is that more action?
No, that's definitely
Mhm.
science fiction. But it might be action as well, but it's definitely science fiction.
I'd say that's my number 1. That movie is incredible.
I'm bringing it up right here. Wow, has it been that long since it came out? 2009? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, this movie, like, the graphics in it are insane, and, like, if you ever see, like, a behind the scenes video of how they actually made them look like the blue avatars that they are, it's crazy. So crazy. Oh my gosh, all the work that goes into that.
So James Cameron is the director, and I keep on hearing that he's going to be releasing more sequels. And here they are right here. They're scheduled to be the next one's supposed to be next year, 2022. Then another one 2 years later, then another one 2 years after that, and finally a fifth one 2 years after that. So
No way, so they're making, like, a 2nd and 3rd and 4th, like, all those of Avatar?
yes, yes, yes. Um,
What? Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that.
yeah, these have been in the works for a long time. So I
Yeah.
keep on, I every once in a while I hear someone talk about it on the internet. So they'll make a video about it, but it keeps on being pushed back for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on with that. So, but yeah. So are you gonna go see that? I assume you probably would.
Oh, yeah, I'll be the first one in the theater for that one.
um, hopefully it lives up to the first one. I've seen most of the first one. I probably watched it in a way that was where I was had it on in the background. I was doing some work, so I didn't pay full attention to it. But from what I remember seeing, it was pretty good. Um, the funny part is when it first came out, I didn't even know it existed for a few years. And like someone made a movie or a movie review about the movie. I was like, I'd never heard of it before. So this was a few years after it came out. So I went to one of my coworkers and I said, "Do you ever heard of the movie Avatar?" He said, "Oh yeah, you've never heard of it?" I said, "Yeah, no, sorry. I guess I'm just a little bit too busy with other things in my life." So, but he had to give me this look like, where have you been? So, um,
Yeah.
was it really that popular? I guess when it first came out.
It was really popular, like, I feel like a lot of people went and saw it when it came out.
Hmm. Now, I do remember hearing after that that some people were so obsessed with the movie that they actually believed that they were living in an avatar world of some kind, and that they were going to that they could somehow pull the plug and they would find they that the so these are people that are really it was a news story that came out where some people actually think that they're living in this world and they don't want to be disconnected from it, almost like the movie The Matrix, where they're living in another world and they believe that they're living in an avatar world right now. I don't know why they think that, but I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it was an interesting story. So
Wow, that's super interesting.
yeah. So I don't know whatever happened to that one, but I would agree it's a good movie for what I remember. So I don't know if I'd put it at the top for science fiction, but I would definitely say it's a good movie. I'd have to watch it again though to give a better review because, like I said, I only remember bits and pieces of it. So
Right, right. Makes sense.
now, if I had to pick one of the best science fiction movies ever made, in my opinion, the 1968 movie, Planet of the Apes. I'm going to bring that up here.
Yeah, I haven't seen those, but I've heard of them.
Yeah, here we go. Now, when the movie came out, this was before my time, but I still like the movie, of course. Meaning I was not around when they were creating it. But I still like it, and a lot of people say that the makeup looks really dated for the apes, and I agree. It is kind of dated looking. Let me see if I can. That's the people walking around in the ape suits right there. There we go. So, but at the time it came out, it was really good. So it was really heralded as something that was really different. So and it is pretty good. It's not bad, but I will say that they have done better things since that time as far as trying to make people look in apes. So it was just different. The basic story is from it's based on a book called I think The Monkey Planet, which was actually written in France and in French, I mean, and so they had to translate it into English. And it's basically obviously like it implies a person who is our guide, so to speak. We see the world through his eyes of what it's like to exist in a world where apes rule the world, but there's more depth to that in the sense that it gives you an idea of what it's like to see the world from like an animal's point of view in our world. So like if you had an animal like a cat or a dog, and how we treat cats and dogs differently than we do human beings, it's like that. It's like you get to see what it's like to be an animal from another perspective. So the apes are like the human beings represent the human beings, and the main character represents our eyes to see what it would be like to be treated like, say, a cat or a dog. They're treated like less than human beings, so to speak. So does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, and they do it so well because the story, there's actually a few of them. He's the only one that basically, by the time the story goes along, he's basically the only character that understands what's going on. Um, and he loses the ability to speak. And because of that, it makes it even more harder for him to even relate to the apes who have the ability to speak. So they don't know what's going on. And it gives you this more, it even goes deeper into that idea that he's like being treated like an average animal. And so you really it's written, the idea just really gets, like I said, it's really in depth. But Rod Serling, who's the one of the was the guy who created the Twilight Zone during that same era, he wrote the first draft of the story, and you can really see that it has that kind of quality in there where he's trying to show you something from a different perspective. And uh towards the end, about halfway through the movie, he does regain the ability to speak, and then that's when the story changes and evolves into something else. But it's still good from beginning to end. It's really good, and it has a surprise ending as well. So.
Oh, I love when movies like have a good twist or like a surprise ending or like a really good cliffhanger to go into the next.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some of my favorite things in movies too.
The funny part is when the movie first came out, they gave away the ending of the movie in the movie posters. So,
Oh no.
so people were like, when they saw the ending, they were like, "Oh, I already saw that." So that was the surprise ending. Well, that wasn't a surprise. So,
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. Definitely an oops on their end.
yeah, and I saw the movie. I was several years after it came out, and I was watching it on TV. And when I saw the end of the movie, I did not know what the ending was going to be. So I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised. So it was like, wow, that was really cool. So the ending was really good. So I don't want to give that away. So
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No hints. We're not giving anyone any hints or sneak peeks or anything or spoilers.
now the movie itself was popular enough that they created four more sequels that lasted into the early 70s. I watched all four of them, and basically the stories kind of the ones after that just kind of get weaker and weaker and weaker. And by the time they get to the fifth movie, it's obviously weren't putting much of a budget into it anymore. The story is very, very weak, and it just wasn't that good. So, and by then, the popularity of the Planet of the Apes during the 70s was really, really high. I don't know if you know how high it would be. It's like, Star Wars is very popular today. Planet of the Apes was very popular, like Star Wars popular back in the 70s. So
Wow,
it was so
amazing.
it was so popular. Like they had toys, they had a TV show, and they had a cartoon show. So and then by the time Star Wars came out, which was of a few years later, that kind of dwarfed it, and so it kind of drifted off and it became less popular. So.
Gotcha, gotcha. Wow, I'm glad that it went really well when it came out because that's something, that makes or breaks a movie. If it comes out and people aren't really digging it, then, that kills the chance for a second one.
Mhm. I'll give you one of my other favorite movies, science fiction movies. It's the movie V. Have you ever seen this?
No.
See if I can find it here. That's the actual title of the movie, V. Yep, here we go. Which one is it? Right here, V. Now, this is actually a TV miniseries. It's a two-part miniseries. Came out in 1983, and um, it's total. I think it's a total of the total runtime is on there, 3 hours and 17 minutes. So basically, it was two. It ran one night, and then the following night they ran it again. Um, this movie is an analogy of what it would be like if when the Germans invaded England and took over and put everyone under Nazi control during World War II. What it does is it gives you a modern perspective of how the United States would handle a situation like that. That's
Oh, wow.
it's a very this is definitely a drama, and as far as being a science fiction, a story, it is science fiction, but it's only science fiction in the sense that, so that you could tell a story and not have to be historically accurate. Originally, it was going to be a story about how the Nazis took over Europe, but they decided not to do that and said, well, let's give a modern day telling of what that would be like. So, and Kenneth Johnson, who's the director and writer of the story, did an excellent job, very good job on the story. Um, and it really does give you an idea of what the Nazi occupation would be like if it took place in a modern American setting at the time. Um, I would definitely recommend this one. Unfortunately, when they came out with a sequel, because it left off at a cliffhanger, they never produced the. He was not, I'm sorry, they did produce it. He was kicked out. That was what I meant to say. He was, I don't know if it was just creative differences or if he was just forced out or whatever, but he wrote an initial what they call I want to say a draft. It's a treatment. That's what they call it. He wrote the original treatment for the story, but then because he was basically forced out, they took his treatment and rewrote it to be something else. So some of the elements from his treatment were left in the sequel, but it became more of like almost like a Star Wars, not nowhere near as good as Star Wars, but a silly kind of Star Wars story where they're just going around the spaceships and shooting everyone, and that's not what the original movie was about. So the sequel, even though I like it, I wouldn't say if you had to if I had to recommend this to somebody, I would say watch this one, but if you watch the sequel, keep in mind that it's not the same. It's just not. It doesn't live up to the original.
Gotcha. Gotcha. It's more like a separate story almost.
It's yeah, it's a continuation, but it just goes. It just becomes too much more silly science fiction stuff rather than the seriousness of the first one. That's all. So
Yeah. Oh man, it's a bummer on that one. They should have kept it, going pretty strong.
yeah, in fact, Kenneth Johnson has retained the movie rights to this story. He keeps on saying that one day he's going to release a theatrical sequel to the first movie, which would ignore the events of this actual sequel that came out. It was going to take place like several years later and show what was going on, but it never happens. He keeps on talking about it. I'd go watch it obviously if it came out. So it'd be kind of interesting to see where you take it. So,
Right. That would be cool, like kind of revamping this so many years later.
mhm. I'll give you my final science fiction movie, and it's also a mini series. It came out in 2000. Here we go. Battlestar Galactica right here. This is also a drama, very much a drama. This is a remake of a 1978 TV show with the same name, Battlestar Galactica. When I saw it, I'd seen the original when I was a kid. And it's kind of it's okay. But it has some hokey elements to it that make it kind of silly and sometimes, but it was still a decent story. This, in my opinion, what they did was they took the original story, and what they did is they removed all the stuff that was kind of silly and nonsensical, and just kept it and just kept all the good stuff and made it a really excellent drama, a really good story. So basically, the analogy in this one is when technology, when man creates technology that goes too far and annihilates its own the humanity's own existence. So and it explores different things. The people in the movie are not from Earth. They're from another. They're from a group of colonies that are on the other part, some other part of the galaxy. They don't specify where. And basically, their technology overpowers them, and they wipe almost everybody out. There's like millions of people are killed off in the movie, and all that's left is about 50,000 people, and those 50,000 people have to survive and find a way to get to what they have to do is find Earth. So they have to find they don't even know what Earth is like. They don't know if it exists, and so these people are struggling to survive. And the interesting thing about it is it's all done in a contemporary way. So everybody dresses and talks like they're from the United States. So to try to make you feel like that they're actually like average Americans, they even dress like average Americans. They don't even dress like space people. Like they wear average. They just wear average looking clothing that you would see at the time that the miniseries came out. And they do that on purpose to try to make you feel like this is what it'd be like if technology were to overrun our world and how we would have to survive afterwards. So,
Wow, that's crazy cool.
it's a very serious drama. I would say there's very little humor. Once in a while, they may have something that's kind of funny, but most is it's very much a drama. The only problem I had, this miniseries, which I really like, eventually became a regular TV series, and the problem was what they did was they took the original show from 1978 and they rewrote it, which was really good. But then when they ran out of ideas, when they couldn't rewrite any of the original show anymore because there was only like one season, they had to come up with their own ideas. Then the show, in my opinion, started to fall apart, and it just like the last season. I really hate the last season. So, but the the mini series, which is what I'm talking about, the first season and the second season are pretty good. After that, just kind of goes downhill for the third season. So I can watch it, but I don't really care for it. And like I said, the fourth season for me, I can't even watch it. It's that bad for me. So
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So this one is kind of like an OG too.
mhm. Yes, it
Mhm.
is. Yes, and the woman that's in this, what's her name? Trisha Heifer. Excellent actress. Very excellent. She was a model beforehand, and she never acted before. And this is her first acting role. She is a phenomenal actress. She is really, really good. She blew me. She blew my dad and I watched this show, and she is a tremendous talent. Unbelievable. The character she played. She could jump around on screen to play the character she had. There were multiple versions of her character because she was an android or an artificial life form, I guess you could call her. She was one of what they call a Cylon, and she had to, sometimes the character had to play a different personality, and she did it so well. Sometimes I didn't even realize it was her. She was that good of an actress. She could really take on a different personality, and she was excellent for the role. It's really neat to see someone. And it's just so cool that she had no acting experience before that, and she was just. A lot of people say the same thing. She just was a tremendous part of the show. She really was.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so amazing. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And all the other actors are pretty good as well, of course. A lot of them are already established, like Edward James Olmos. He's been around for a while, so he's done a lot of movies. He was in the old TV show Miami Vice, if you've ever heard of that.
Yep, I've heard of that.
He was a regular in that show. He was also in the movie Blade Runner, which was a Harrison Ford movie that came out in the early 80s. So, but yeah, he's well established. So, and then Mary McDonnell, she's also a pretty good actress. So, they're good. I'm not trying to downplay their performance. The reason I'm emphasizing the other woman is because she had never acted before. It was just amazing to see someone who come in, and she just blew everyone away. I mean, with her acting ability, and she still acts today. I'm not sure what she does nowadays. I'm sure whatever she's in, she's pretty good because she was phenomenal back then. So,
yeah, that's so cool. That was kind of like her debut film, and it sounds like she knocked it out of the park.
Yep. So that would be my top science fiction movies.
I like them. I like them all.
I would definitely recommend all three of them, and I don't want to give away any spoilers or anything. So, but yeah, we don't need to bring this one up here. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. But as far as anything else, I mean, there are other science fiction things I like, but they're not really movies per se. They're more like TV shows. So that would be a different category. We could talk about some other time.
Oh, definitely.
So, cool. So I guess we can go ahead and wrap everything up. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that was basically our best picks on every single genre of movies.
Yes.
Or almost every single one.
Yeah, and thanks to everyone for leaving comments. There was one I left out. I can go ahead and talk about it right now. I touched on it. I breezed across it earlier. William Walter left another comment about Susan Sarandon. She was in Thelma and Louise.
Oh, gotcha.
Have you seen Thelma and Louise?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. That would be another movie that I would recommend. We don't have to talk about tonight, but we can talk about it some other night. It's definitely a very good movie, and she's phenomenal in that one. She's really good. Susan Sarandon was the woman that was in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So,
oh, gotcha.
Okay, I'll go ahead and bring this down. And thanks everyone for watching, and we'll go ahead and we'll be here next week. So, thanks again.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Hang on for a second, Hannah.